On the morning of March 1st, 1999, 15-year-old Rachel Barber left her home in Melbourne, Australia, expecting to return later that evening. She was a talented young dancer, deeply loved by her family and excited about the direction her life was taking. She had no reason to believe this would be the last day of her life. Rachel's father drove her to the tram stop that morning. She was supposed to meet him there again at around 6:15 that evening. But when the time came, Rachel never arrived, and within hours, a worried family would begin searching for their daughter. What they didn't know was that Rachel had been deliberately lured into a trap by someone she already knew, someone her family once trusted. Rachel Elizabeth Barber was born on September 12, 1983. By the time she was 15, dance had become a major part of her life. She had attended the dance factory in Richmond and in September 1998 had begun studying dance there full-time. But Rachel wasn't simply a dancer. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a teenager with ordinary dreams. Her parents, Michael and Elizabeth, had two other daughters, and the family had built a close family together. The court would later hear something important about Rachel that her eventual killer seemed never to understand. Rachel's life wasn't perfect. She had struggled at school and had experienced difficulties with dance before returning to training. But to Caroline Reed Robertson, Rachel appeared to represent everything she believed she herself lacked: beauty, confidence, talents, popularity, and a future she believed she would never have. Years before Rachel disappeared, the Barber family became acquainted with another family in their neighborhood. That family included Caroline Reed. Caroline was older than Rachel, and during 1996 and 1997, she babysat the Barber children. That meant Caroline wasn't a stranger. She was someone Rachel knew, someone who had been inside their family's home, someone her parents had trusted with their children. And according to the sentencing judge, signs of Caroline's fascination with Rachel were already appearing years before the murder. In 1997, Caroline arranged to photograph Rachel for what she claimed was a school project. Later, she asked members of the Barber family for Rachel's date of birth. She also obtained a copy of Rachel's birth certificate. At the time, these things may not have seemed connected, but investigators would eventually discover that they were pieces of something much darker. In late February 1999, Caroline put her plan into motion. She contacted Rachel and offered her money to participate in what she described as a confidential study. The offer was carefully constructed. Rachel was told that the study was a secret. She was told not to tell her parents or boyfriend, and she was promised money. Rachel had seen a pair of shoes that cost around $100 Australian. She told her boyfriend that she would be able to buy them after doing the job. She had no reason to suspect that the person making the offer intended to hurt her. Caroline had been part of her family's life, and that familiarity was precisely what made the plan so effective. The judge later described Caroline's approach as calculated and manipulative. Rachel believed she was going to make some money. Instead, she was walking directly into danger. On March 1st, Rachel attended her dance classes as planned. During the afternoon, she told a fellow student that she was going to make a lot of money that evening. She also told her boyfriend that she was meeting an old female friend. At around 5:45 p.m., Rachel was last seen by classmates walking towards Bridge Road. Not long afterward, A witness saw her boarding a tram at High and Chapel Streets in Prahran. Rachel was not alone. She was with an older girl. That girl was Caroline Reed. The two got off the tram near Williams Road. Caroline's apartment was only a short distance away. That was the last confirmed sighting of Rachel alive. Rachel was expected home that evening, but she never arrived. Her parents reported her missing that same night. At first, there was no obvious explanation. Rachel hadn't told her parents that she planned to stay away. She hadn't disappeared before, and her parents knew something was wrong. They began searching. The investigation quickly became a race against time. Friends were questioned, routes were checked, witnesses were sought. And eventually, police obtained a description of the older woman who had been seen with Rachel on the tram. A computer-generated face image was created, but there was something unsettling about it. Rachel's own parents struggled to identify the woman immediately, until they began thinking about people who knew Rachel. And one name eventually appeared on a list they gave investigators: Caroline Reed Robertson. As investigators began looking more closely at Caroline, troubling details emerged. Caroline had told people that Rachel might have simply run away, but investigators were not convinced. Police visited Caroline's apartment on March 12th. No one answered. Later that day, officers returned. This time, firefighters helped them enter through a bedroom window. Inside the apartment, investigators found clothing that appeared to belong to someone other than Caroline. Caroline herself was found unconscious on the floor. She was taken to the hospital, and that night, a detective from the Missing Persons Unit questioned her about Rachel. At approximately 9:52 p.m., Caroline admitted that she had killed Rachel. The investigation had taken a devastating turn, but police still had one critical question: where was Rachel? The following afternoon, March 13th, police traveled to a property near Kilmore. The land belonged to Caroline's father. Officers began searching an area among a small grove of trees. And then they found what they had been looking for. Rachel's body had been buried in a shallow grave. She was just 15 years old. The following day, an autopsy determined that her probable cause of death was ligature strangulation. The discovery brought an end to the search for Rachel, but it raised an even more disturbing question: why? Why would someone who had once babysat Rachel deliberately target her? The answer was hidden inside Caroline's apartment, in her handwritten notes. Investigators found handwritten documents inside Caroline's apartment. Forensic examination revealed that the documents contained a plan for the murder and disposal of the body. But there was something else. Caroline had apparently planned to create an entirely new identity for herself. The name she had chosen was James Southall. The notes contained information about Rachel's appearance, personality, and life. They also included plans involving Rachel's belongings, her identification, and what Caroline intended to do after the murder. The evidence suggested something extraordinary. Caroline didn't simply envy Rachel. She wanted to escape her own identity and construct another one based, at least in parts, on the life of the girl she had killed. The judge concluded that Caroline's writings showed an abnormal and obsessive interest in Rachel. He also concluded that Caroline had been thinking of Rachel's death for a substantial period before acting. There is no single sentence that can completely explain why Caroline committed the murder. The court had evidence about Caroline's difficult personal history, her poor self-image, isolation, and long-standing feelings of inadequacy. But the judge was careful not to reduce the crime to those circumstances. He found that Caroline had been motivated by envy of Rachel's family, her appearance, and her personality. More importantly, she believed Rachel was likely to have the happy and successful life that Caroline thought she would never experience. And that distorted perception became increasingly consuming. The tragedy was that Caroline had built an imaginary version of Rachel, a version that seemed perfect. But Rachel's parents told the court that their daughter had struggled too. She had experienced problems at school, she had struggled with dance, and she had her own fears and insecurity. She was not the perfect person Caroline imagined. She was simply a real teenager, and she deserved to live. Caroline pleaded guilty to Rachel's murder. On November 29, 2000, the Supreme Court of Victoria sentenced her to 20 years in prison. The court fixed an unparalleled period of 14 years and 6 months. The sentencing judge described the crime as the result of extensive deliberation and calculated actions. He also emphasized something that is easy to forget when true crime stories become focused on the killer. Rachel was not a character in somebody else's story. She was a person whose life was taken. Her family would continue living with that loss long after the courtroom proceeding ends. After serving more than 15 years behind bars, Caroline was granted parole. She was released on January 20, 2015. Rachel's parents had opposed her release and remained deeply affected by what had happened. But even in the aftermath, Rachel's mother expressed a remarkable wish. She asked people not to harass Caroline or her family. The Barber family had lost Rachel. Nothing could bring her back, but they did not want another cycle of hatred to follow them. More than 2 decades later, the most important thing about Rachel Barber is not the woman who killed her. It is Rachel herself, a 15-year-old girl who loved once, a daughter who was expected home that evening, a sister, a friend, a teenager who believed she was meeting someone she knew for an opportunity to earn some money. Rachel never got to grow up. She never got to discover what kind of woman she would become. And perhaps that is the most heartbreaking part of this case. Her killer spent years imagining Rachel's life as something perfect. But Rachel's life was never supposed to be perfect. It was supposed to be hers. This was the murder of Rachel Barber, a case that began with a missing teenager and ended by exposing an obsession that had been building for years. Rachel's story is a reminder that sometimes the people closest to us can hide things we never imagined. But above all, it is a reminder that behind every true crime case is a real person whose life mattered. May she rest in peace. Thank you for watching. I'm Yvette Smiley, and this is Storytime with Yvette Smiley, Murder and Mystery. If you want most true crime stories told with respect and without unnecessary graphic details, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.